All right, I finished the first story in Many Inventions by Many Inventions by Rudyard Kipling. This is the Dstrbr of the Trffc, where unnamed narrator, presumably Kipling, is talking to a lighthouse guy, and he tells him a story of a fellow. He tells him the story of a fellow, Dow's, who goes crazy at a lighthouse kind of around Bali, and decides that all the streakiness in the water is caused by the ships going by. So he sets up a bunch of wreck buoys to basically blockade the channel that he's in charge of, and persuades all the ships that there's just terrible wrecks there, until finally he is discovered by an English ship, because that's the people who kind of tend these things, at least in Kipling's world, and go to investigate, and they find, okay, this is nothing. They come up on Dow's who is completely insane, and actually Kipling does do a really good job of kind of depicting that. And it's interesting because, like, as Dow's says, like, it's the streakiness is caused by the ships and all that. There's the inside part of him going, this is all foolishness. This is stupid foolishness. And say, you should come and talk to our captain. So he comes to talk to the captain, and he catches a reflection of himself. This is with the native guy who only said only English word is damn, which he means yes by, and has web feet. It's kind of really Gollum, or if you're a wizard, a Caliban figure, definitely kind of subhuman figure that Kipling casts along as, aiding him in his madness. He catches a reflection of himself in all the kind of the gleaming brass, and he realizes he's been standing there completely naked in front of these guys, probably unbathed, completely hairy, a complete madman, and he screams, and they take him away, and they bust up all the stuff, and he's kind of cured by his madness by hard work on the ship, but is brought back, where Fenwick, the narrator, finds him actually, what does it say? I think I found him up in Fratton one day in a red jersey, praying before the Salvation Army, which had produced him as, like, they labeled him as a pirate, reformed pirate, and stuff like, don't be a fool, take off that jersey and come along with me. And he says, Fenwick, I'm saving my soul, for I believe that I have killed more men in Flores Strait than Trafalgar. Like, all his false buoys and stuff like that, he's worried he's killed people in his dam. And Fenwick to that says, a man that thought he'd seen all the navies in the earth standing round in a ring to watch his foolish false wreck boys, ain't fit to have a soul, and if he did, he couldn't kill a louse with it. John Dow's, you were mad then, but you are damn sight madder now. Take off that there jersey. And so he took it off, and he did come along with him, but he never got rid of the suspicion that he'd sunk some ships because of his foolishness at the Flores Straits. And now he's a wherryman from Portsmouth to Gosport, where the tides run crosswise and you can't row straight for 10 strokes together. He's very much demoted to something where he can't actually have harm, but he isn't insane anymore. Though he's interesting. He's still working at the thing. How does this start off? This starts off with because I did the first part of this. It starts off with a poem from The Wheel, from Miriam Cohen. From the wheel and the drift of things, deliver us, good Lord, and we will meet the wrath of kings, the faggot and the sword. Lay not thy toil before our eyes, nor vex us with thy waters, lest we should feel the straining skies overtrod by trampling stars. A veil twixt us and thee, dread Lord, a veil twixt us and thee, lest we should hear too clear, and unto madness see. So it's sort of one of these things of, like, don't, keep the veil between us and kind of wider existence, lest we should feel the straining skies overtrod by trampling stars. So it's like, don't lay what's actually going on, the immensity of everything, or it might kind of crush us. And indeed, yeah, when he comes to this, of the English south coast lights, that of Lake St. Cecilia under the cliffs is the most powerful, and it guards the foggy coast in England. So this is where the unnamed narrator has gone to talk to the lighthouse guy, and he's talking about how what does he say? I mean, there's all the kind of the mechanism of these massive kind of lights. And this is spending a night with this guy while he's on the job. And it's no pleasant thing to thrust your company upon a man for the night. I looked at Fenwick, and Fenwick looked at me, engaging each other's capacities for boring and being bored. Fenwick was an old, clean-shaven, gray-haired man who'd followed the sea for 30 years and knew nothing of the land except the lighthouse in which he served. So he's like fairly thing. The subject is Rex, because I think it goes into the talk always came back to lights of the channel, lights of forgotten islands and men forgotten on them, light ships, 2 months duty and 1 month's leave, tossing on kinked cables in ever troubled tideways, and the lights that men had seen where never lighthouses were marked on the charts. Omitting all the stories and omitting also the wonderful ways by which he arrived at them, I tell here from Fenwick's mouth one that was not the least amazing. It was delivered in pieces between the roller skate rattle of the revolving lenses and the bellowing of the foghorn below, the answering call from the sea, and the sharp tap of reckless nightbirds that flung themselves down at the glasses. It concerned a man called Dowes, once an intimate friend of Fenwick's, now a waterman in Portsmouth, believing that the guilt of blood is on his head, and finding no rest either at Portsmouth or Gosport Hard. And I think it's kind of one of these things of like, and Dowes was stationed in the Ballynarrows. No, he was not at Bally. He's much more east of the passages in the Florida Straits. And I think there's basically a thing that says here, They put Dowes, since he was the only man that the Dutch government, which owns Flores, could find to go to Worley and tend to fixed light. Most of those they use Dutch and Italians, Englishmen being sent to drink when alone. I could never rightly find out what made Dowes accept of that position, but accepted he did, and used to sit to watch for the tigers out of the forest to hunt for crabs. Basically, he's like just driven insane by either the isolation or just the immensity of the land, and became the Dstrbr of the Trffc. I mean, Kipling is a really good writer, and this really gets that kind of being crushed by the immensity of nature, or just finding the cracks of weakness in yourself as you are out in that kind of environment, and it just crushes you, and your particular crack occurs. So that is the Dstrbr of the Trffc.